picking a class to main in Guild Wars 2 is by far the hardest choice, because the game fundamentally isn't meant to work that way as an account-based progression MMO. But even so, most people will find themselves gravitating towards one playstyle over the others. Myself, I settled on trench coats and patch notes full of pet changes that you couldn't begin to understand. All because I like longbows. After 500 hours of my life, across 2,500 days, I think it's time I shoot my shot. We're at one of my favorite places to test weapons because I want to show you why I think Ranger Longbow is one of the best designed weapons in the entirety of Guild Wars 2. Because you'll see the entire kit is built to synergize together. We have our auto shot, which is your standard long-range shot, with very good distance. This thing on its own can absolutely destroy people in PvP or even in PvE. Then we have rapid fire, which is our second ability, which will do a bunch of shots. Then we have our third ability, which will allow us to go invisible, which will stop enemies and allow us to get a barrage off the entire time. And then enemies will get pulled towards us if they know how to leash. And then we knock them back with point-blank shot back into the barrage. And that's the fundamentals of Ranger Longbow. It's by far one of my personal favorite weapons. Honestly pretty important, which is with Longbow and Action Camera, the arrow's actual range doesn't change the indicator, so you'll see at this distance it says that I can't hit my target, whereas with this one I can, right? But if we shoot him anyways, the arrow will hit him without issue. Now the other thing about Ranger that's really cool is you can also use Control mouse click 2 to auto attack all of your pet commands, so you don't actually have to make them manually input the commands anymore. Oh, looking at our other weapons for Ranger, they're not particularly bad. They didn't do too bad with the class. You're going to start off with Sword Main Hand, which has seen a lot of reworks over the years. This used to be a leap PvP weapon. Now it still kind of is, but the leaps are done a little bit differently. Good damage overall, but it's okay. Hammer with Untamed, I've found, can work really, really well and get you a lot of damage, and can make a very tanky brawler when in combination with the greatsword that you'll see further down there. Longbow, of course, we just covered, and that can be utilized as well with Untamed to be able to flip over with longbow, to be able to reset your longbow skills with the multi-shot there. One of my personal favorite builds of pretty much all time. Shortbow has two renditions, well, I suppose three renditions, which is Power Shortbow, yes it does exist, it is a meme, and it's as terrible as it sounds. Condi Shortbow, and then I've invented a sort of burn shortbow that I've had a lot of fun with whilst clearing through the world. And then Axe, this is one of my personal favorite weapons, will ricochet and bounce, so this is really good for labbing if you only have a ranger. This is going to be great for the upcoming Halloween event. You could bounce your axes around, make sure you're not stealing the kills and whatnot. But then you have Split Blade, which will give you a bunch of AoE damage that you can actually shotgun through targets if you're very close to them. And then AoE Chill, and you'll find the axe also inflicts a lot of bleed, so you can play Celestial or a hybrid setup with the axe there as well. And with the offhand axe, this is where the power damage comes from, since the whirling defense will be all of your DPS. This is the melee option in raids as well, because it's also a whirl finisher. So if you put down, say for example, your own frost trap, which will make a field of ice that goes off, you use your whirling defense inside of it, you'll make a bunch of ice projectiles at the exact same time. And then Dagger Main Hand has always been a really fun option for Condi Soul Beast, but it's never really found that much viability that I've found. I would love to be able to play Dagger, and honestly I might make a Dagger Soul Beast just for fun. But otherwise, we get down to Greatsword, which is the primary power option you've seen Rangers running for a long time. Rangers would either run Axe with an offhand axe and greatsword for most of the game, or now they're running hammer with greatsword, or running longbow or any variation of Condi stuff. The greatsword is your old reliable, build your Twilight, beat the shit out of them with Maul. Simple enough. We get down to the new maces that they've added, and it will give you a bunch of healing on the main hand, which is what Druid really needed as well. So now you can run main hand mace with offhand staff, main hand mace with offhand Warhorn, and then you can run the staff in the secondary slot for druid. But you can also do a staff untamed that I've been holding out on. I played it in PvP, a lot of fun, so looking forward to healing in fractals with that. So keep an eye out for not so daily fractals, where I cover those builds. And then the offhand mace is in a rivalry with offhand axe here, because your wild strikes and your whirling defense are basically the same button. Just add in another mechanic, which is nature's strength. And then torch, you've got your burning stuff, and warhorn gives you hunter's call, which was one of my favorite things that I've ever used in PvP, because this will spawn a bunch of hawks. And I used to have the Mad King runes back in the day, which would also summon hawks on people if you would use an elite skill. So I would pop strength of the pack, which would grant might to you or to your pet when you attack. Be a soul beast, so then the pet bonuses affected you, the player, as all the events are going off. And then I would use the strength of the pack plus the hunter's call, and I would get 25 might off of these hawks plus the Mad King hawks. It was one of my favorite setups. And then the ranger spear, I'm going to do an entire individual video on because it is beautiful. After what you just heard, I'm sure you can tell I like longbows. I actually just quite enjoy Guild Wars 2's ranged combat as a whole, which kind of fucks me off in higher tier content when it's considered the stacking MMO due to AoE boon uptime. But you see, this is where we come to the diverse point, we'll call it. Because you see, Ranger, much like my YouTube career, has an identity problem. Or perhaps also, like my YouTube career, an idiot problem. Since when I tend to see any commentary about Ranger, people always fall into two camps, purely because of wording. Ranger equals range. Yeah, I know, simple, right? You'd think. In MMO terms, that means a 1500 range bow, playing from long distance and picking off my target with pristine accuracy. But in immersion terms, to range is to explore, to be one with the environment and use the tools it gives you. And if you're in this camp and you just agreed with me, you're wrong. And I'll die on this hill that I'll shoot down at you from if they ever add Rifle Ranger. You see, this class identity problem has created a twofold issue. Which camp does ArenaNet cater to? Well, I mean, whichever one would pay more, fundamentally, but results-wise, it would show they're tending towards the class identity of the woodsman, the ranger of sort. Which also fucks off anyone who actually enjoys the hunter playstyle. Because guess what, dickhead? Guardians got your longbow and use it in every game mode better than you. Rifle? Rifle mesmer. Rifle mesmer! Okay. What about pistols? Elementalist! So you're telling me the guy built to shoot a deer at the top end of content is punished for using his bow? Yeah, that's what I'm telling you, yeah. As I said before with the stacking MMO, being outside of melee range is a fundamental DPS loss. So why would you even care about the ranged capabilities of the class when you and Cujo can piss on the same tree together? Now, thankfully, since Guild Wars 2 is the casual MMO that will vote kick you if you link arc DPS, I've ran longbow in all content anyways, and have carried multiple squads with every variation of ranger throughout the years. Barebow? Carried with that. Longbow Soul Beast? Popularized it 7 years ago and probably killed you indirectly. And now, we have the best longbow has ever been with Longbow Untamed. Video on the channel, by the way. And Druid's relegated to healing now, since we've evolved past the days of point-blank shot, the knockback into entangling roots, and then you pop your unblockable signet, rapid fire them through any block they put up. Oh god, I'm old. So, to wrap up, after 500 hours, how is Ranger? Well, simple really. Depends which kind of camping you enjoy.